Good morning to everybody here. So we are going to continue with our teaching on transforming suffering and happiness. Up until now, we have looked at, or we are currently looking at, the qualities or the positive aspects of suffering. Yesterday, we covered the first three, and we are now going to talk about the fourth positive aspect.
나초 지바트 강레지나 티니 지바트는 티니 소소랑가 토라 등을 용나 디 등을도 티 용이 김성 강레지나 소소랑가 당가마 머기와 시바타 딘지가 레가 톱거티니 종고요레 데이나 등을도 용이 값스 티니 레티 말 잔조레 데이나랑가 득파 머기와 잔조레 삼니다 딘지 삼콘도지 소소라 등을 용이 값스 아오타 등을 용나 등을데라 티니 나랑 그 머기와 나마 sakba 탐치 잔조레 쫑고 마레 삼니 디고 고니 가와 곰고도스.
So this fourth positive aspect of suffering is using suffering to purify harmful actions. So this entails us appreciating that when suffering takes place or arises, that the reason for this is unvirtuous activities or acts that we have done in the past. And it's a result of this negative karma that has led to our current suffering. Now we have the opportunity to go about purifying it. So we should think that when suffering comes upon us, well, I can use this instance of suffering to purify my past negative karma, and on this basis have a like for the suffering.
다니다가 좀 소화가 나라 요비티니 등을 상마 용수 조바 치치총총 상마 되는 가서 나마키와 나마가 되니 레가 왕가 숑바 어레지나 데니테 이마이바요 마레지 때가 좀 소화가 나라 되니 다 등을 지금 종나 때랍셔당 되니 기스킨 잠자 mambo요레.
Does this mean then that all of the various kinds of suffering that happen in our lives, whether great or small, are all the result of our past negative karma? Well, this is not necessarily the case. Different kinds of suffering have their own causes and conditions.
예나 다가 좀 소화가 나라 중에 지금 등을 때서 침보 거도 되니 아마가 되니 레가 없고 숑바레즈.
However, generally, we consider larger forms of suffering in our life to be the result of negative karma in past lives.
되니 직대 레리 되니 직대 가서 다스다가 되니 소화가 나라요. 등물음 종나데 등물음 종와라 지킨 요리 되니 때 니가레스.
So, on the one hand, the causes for our suffering are firstly our past karma, and then secondly the various causes and conditions that come together in our present lives.
베나가 초되니 카버그나라 되니 까자 년나 되니 가서 묶음 통하여 발락바 은지야요 바거더니 카버티 저차 코랑 되니 고레 데스지레즈.
네, 연저소네 조칸보다.
카버그나라 까자 년나 되니 다 무스티니 카버 코랑 저차 가서 락바가 존 투야가 카버트 담보 고레즈 지드더레 지킨 지드더레즈 가다냐야.
Чизе дени гюкин тамбоди гацо дени каба гогрва.
Гогри, шертантини кабргана даняна гекин мамбо гогри. Тинанес чигтетини там чурча коран гогрес.
So if we take the example of listening to somebody speaking in a telephone, there are different causes and conditions that need to be in place for us to be able to do this. The first of these is the telephone itself.
Teni ni ngaso muktinim thoya mepagatini teni khapargatinim chondateyantaga gogres.
But aside from the actual phone that we can see with our own two eyes, we also need the phone signal, which is not able to be perceived by our eyes.
Teni tinikina chigmena teni ngaso janyan thap ko mares.
Without either of these two things, the actual phone and the imperceptible phone signal, we wouldn't be able to listen to the sound.
Teni technika te yo tsati teni ngaso tazo teni janyan thap ko wazi nawa nala.
So it's only when they both come together that we are actually able to listen to the phone or listen to someone speaking in it.
Teni te dang japore ngatsun chowa nala teni dewa yona dungor yona tela teni ngatsu mukum thongya ga teni giskin dang teni mukum mamthong wi giskin mamboz yorez.
And it's the same with various kinds of happiness and suffering that crop up in our lives. There are causes and conditions that we can see with our own eyes and causes and conditions that we can't.
Teni yina ngatsu me mamboz ka ta ngatsun koranga mukum thongya ga teni giskin te ma to pa jamba yo mare samni teni samgo yorez.
But there are some people who think that the only causes and conditions are the ones that they can see with their eyes, and beyond these, they don't think there are any others.
Teni yina ta teni le sapoz mare ta tela giskin mambo yorez.
But it's not as simple as that. There are many contributing causes and conditions.
Teni te dang rapo pe na ngatsu teni lok la sam lok tang ngatsu teni lok chigin na teni ngus ngatsu ndaran thongwi teni lok tang lok teni te lok do da tso la teni wote yong dozi ngusum thonga.
Another example would be the light, the ceiling light. When we look at it, we see the light itself and the light bulb, and I think these are the things that allow us to see the light.
Yena ngatsu teni lok teni shertok chigbola chigbo tes chigbola teni lok wod yong thab go mares.
However, purely in reliance on the light bulb, the light wouldn't be emitted or able to be emitted.
Teni ngatsu tarambo zela yo pi teni te lok khang ga nang ni teni lok te ser yong go nduz. Fa dian chang.
In addition to this, we need the power or the electricity to be supplied from a distant power generation station.
Teni ngatsu nyuk muk ruksana yo pi teni lok hertok ndada. Teni yang rambo na yo pi teni lok khang te ni ten zomni teni ngatsu lok to yong go yores.
So it's only by having the light bulb that is very proximate to us and the distant supply of electricity, when these two come together, that we are able to have a functioning light.
Teni te dang rapo teni ngatsu sem ga nang la ina lipo go thola ina dungmur yong na teni chigti ngatsu teni chowa ga nang la so so rang ga penam thosteni na dra teni korla teni mandik pa teni yore teni gestion chigta teres.
When we consider suffering of the mind and suffering of the body, there are many different causes and conditions too. One of these is our overall state of health or hygiene.
Teni nipata teni janrambo zne te teni ngaso le teni ta pe na kewa kongma yan lo japchak lo tongchak teni mambo zla ngaso le teni sa yo pi ti nipata tata yong go yore te nikala teni dungmer jongo yores.
And a more remote factor is our past karma, whether karma accumulated in a past life or 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, the power or the force generated by this karma. It's only when both of these things come together, our past karma and our current situation of health, that we have or experience different kinds of suffering.
Teni te nika te gore mato teni kina ni chingmena nga so dungmer nyong thap ka banduz.
Both of these factors need to come together. If one of them is missing, then we wouldn't experience suffering.
Teni indi ta tari nga so teni dungmer nyong na ta ngarang ga lete mar teni zanjo re samne teni sam ko nduz.
So when we do experience suffering, we should think, I'm going to use this suffering to purify my past karma.
Teni ta ngapa teres ngapa.
And now we come to point 5.
Ngapa te teni ngaso teni dugpa di dungmer sem ko thola dungmer yong i kaps teni ngaso gewa la teni thapar ta teni gabo 갑주 용 거래지 게와라 셈거나 가보다 쪼보든지 용 거래지.
So when suffering comes upon us, we should use this as a chance to be very joyous about doing positive or virtuous action.
대가래지나 되니다 등물 리보 돌아용나 야나 셈거 돌아용나 소소라 냠린 약보 게와 약보 메나 되니다 등물제야 되니다 머스지게 온도그 말에 못 탐치 볼라들이 까블레 카보 되니 용거래지 냠린 다 게와 약보 메나.
The reason for this is that when suffering takes place, whether it's physical or mental suffering, if we are not sound practitioners or do not soundly cultivate virtue, then the experience of suffering is very difficult.
되니 가서 냠린 라뜨가 때니 냠린 지비 값스 되니 등물이 있나요? 되니 등물 때니 등물 침보 매바당 되니 등물 라뜨니 가와 되니 용탑 그래지 대 용탑바데 코로나랑 하고 용 그래지 디 값스
그 연자수나 직접바 칸불라
게와티니 드피 값스 게와티니 드브나티니 다 냠린 게와라 테니 티니 등물 메바데 등물 사마티니 데와 자오티니 렌도와티 티니 코로나 냠린 그 고니 하고 요레지 디 값스.
If one is a practitioner, then through practice, one is able, when suffering takes place, to convert it into happiness. And it's through practice that one understands this.
Teni dumur to teni gewa nyamlin la teni dumur te teni to ta dumur mepa teni gawa teni yemba te hako yundi. Teni gewa la gayong gore pena nga so nat navi kapse teni man thona ti man la to teni te sosorang nat te changro ti siundi teni man te la lakpo gayong go do te dang da poreze.
So in knowing then that positive action, engaging in positive action is able to both reduce suffering and generate happiness, then one comes to like suffering. It's like medicine, again, that is able to cure an illness or cure our illness. In knowing that the medicine is able to cure our illness, we naturally come to like the medicine.
당아서 리보고 돌아 심고 돌아 등물 딘지 용이 값스 되니 냠린 맹큰 그 뭐지 있나 되니 리보라 있나 데 심고 돌아 등물이 오나 디 등물 띠더니 거랑라데 식긴 침보테 거랑건 소알라 식긴 테 되니 거랑건 레가라 식긴 테 되니 까블리 캄보 멍보 용 거래.
For a person who doesn't engage in practice, a non-practitioner, then suffering when it arises, whether it be physical or of the mind, has a great detrimental impact on their life in general, on their work lives, etc., and in general brings them a great deal of difficulty.
되니 다리 아주 냠린데 요비 임선지 되니 등물이나 되니 등물 그 소소라 식긴 팁 맡아봐. 소소온 소알라양 식긴 맡아. 되니 소소 레가라양 되니 식긴 맡아. 되니 소소 심금 거나라양 식긴 맡아니 되니 약보즈 용야데 강거디니 되니 니파레즈나테 게와가 니파레 소소 냠린 거 니파레즈. 되니 테 하고 이 값스 되니 소소 게와라 하버 가보 용 거레즈.
However, through practice, it's through our practice that it is possible for suffering not to cause us detrimental impact, whether on our working lives or our lives in general or our overall state of psychological well-being. The reason for this is the power of virtue or of doing positive acts. And because it is through the practice of It is the virtue that is generated by our practice which carries the power for suffering not to detrimentally impact in these ways. So on this basis, we develop a liking for doing positive acts.
Teni tinri indi dumur te yona, teni dumur te ngasola kalmapshi kereze, kalmapshi ni teni gewa dripala teni sabartam bapashia. So for this
reason, suffering gives us encouragement. It gives us the encouragement to practice and do positive acts. Generally speaking, everyone very much likes and admires, appreciates a life that is free from difficulty and suffering and full of happiness. And to abide happily in a life without difficulty or mishap is the hope or aspiration of everyone. If we are looking at things from a short-term perspective, then yes, we would say it is preferable that we have a life where no suffering exists. However, if we take a more long-term perspective, then a life with no difficulty whatsoever is not necessarily preferable. Whether or not such a life would be considered positive or negative or preferable or less preferable depends on whether one has a foundation in practice. If someone doesn't have a foundation in practice, then a life of pure happiness would lead them to become extremely attached to this kind of lifestyle, and they would become very confused by this lifestyle or life of pure happiness. So even though at that very moment, the person in question is living a very happy and nice life, their attachment to this happy life leads them not to progress in themselves, and so in this way can be considered to harm them. And so it's for this reason that for someone who is not a practitioner, that such a lifestyle leads them to forget about the need or to forget engaging in positive action. So the thought that a bit of suffering in life is undesirable, and therefore a desire to resist suffering, is a way of thinking that ultimately is harmful to us.
Teni dungmer chongzut drapo tinti yongna ngaso kharsang ya shasong ta ngaso chuwa nangla dungmer hale pa chimbo yongna ta ngaso tarta teni tarong nyamning ga thola teni yarji yung matsirwi kapsi yinna teni te kamore te la jarka thongona kamore yinna chuwa ga nangla dungmer te chongchong rawo teni chongzut yona te nguni tang jangrang bola samlo ta na yakbo reze.
So as we said yesterday, in terms of suffering, well, very large or serious forms of suffering, if our practice has not yet been made extremely firm, then this is rather difficult for us to cope with. It's rather difficult for us to achieve victory in respect of this kind of suffering. However, in terms of small forms of suffering, then taking a long-term perspective, they are ultimately good for us.
Teni dungmer tang kanger o teso la teni nga so mo la teni to kelma thimne yarji in ro re ma to pa dungmer la teni mar jirdig lan ro te nyong ro re nyamning yona tele kyang yarji ro re.
Suffering and hardship, in fact, give us encouragement. They impel us to progress. It's not the case that they lead us to decline. And particularly for practitioners, suffering and hardship leads to progress.
Teni ti thola nga so teni ta dungmer yona teni ngarang ga gewar pala teni ta bapa chegre te na nga dungmer te yona yak bore samni tinri chini tanim she gore.
So in this way, then, when suffering takes place, we need to think to ourselves, I will be diligent in my practice of positive actions, and on this basis accept the suffering.
Teni te ngabati teri teni chugparis.
So that's the fifth positive aspect, and now we move on to the sixth. This sixth point is extremely important. And the reason for this is that when suffering takes place, it is we need to use this suffering in order to cultivate compassion for other beings. So through suffering comes compassion, but through suffering also comes anger. Whether suffering generates compassion or anger depends on our practice. For a person who is not a practitioner, then when suffering comes upon them, they think, oh, others have been unfair, they've treated me poorly, and this has given rise to my suffering. My suffering is connected to others, and on this basis feel very angry.
ngarang la tini shisuk di ngarang la yakbo chege madik yana ngarang ka phama ngarang la yakbo chege madik yana ngarang ka chokbo yakbo chege madik samni suso ger ka nala sem ka nala markepa mambo yung gore ji chungsani.
If we look at it on a individual perspective, a small-scale perspective, we can also see that suffering in people's minds causes anger. They often regard society as having been unfair to them, their parents as having mistreated them, their friends as not being good to them. And in this way, suffering leads to a lot of individual unhappiness.
Teni chesani teni ta zambolang thola nyokta mambo yonji tesoyo tendi samlola teni yongoyoris.
And on a large scale, a global scale, we can see all the various troubles that take place.
Tendi indi ngaso dumriyona yinjig manjig teni to nyarji chegere tese maris dumriyona susorala dumriyon kaps nyarji chengi payo maris.
So we're not saying that when suffering takes place, it automatically gives rise to compassion.
Teni country se yoresina nyamlin yona teni nyarji yo kaps teni the dumriyon kaps teni nyarji chegere.
What is being said is that if we practice, then suffering is able to generate compassion.
Ota tendi indi teni susoranga thola teni the dumriyon kaps lig thola dumriyona te sem ko thola dumriyona kang yona teni ti kaps mi jalla teni te nyarji yakpo teni chethap kore.
So when suffering takes place, whether it be suffering of the body or of the mind, it is possible to use this suffering to generate compassion for others.
Teni tendi nyarji tela teni sosorang yarji to yapon rothap kore.
And it's through this compassion that we are able to improve ourselves.
Kharsanga sukong de yang teni shayo teni zoti ta nga so pena sosorang la thola dumur mepi kaps teni mi jamba so dumur la samlo mambo tang yo mares te samlo mo tang wi yimsenji teni mo janam la dumur kanti yo te mambo te ha ko mares so rang la dumur mena.
Yesterday we said how we talked about how when we have not had experience of a particular kind of suffering, that we don't think about it, we don't give thought to it. And the reason that we don't understand or that we don't do this is because we don't know what it is like, this kind of suffering that others are experiencing.
Pena nga so tini tongchir ka nangla tini lam khala yandro mandro yana langkala yandro mandro tendi chini tini mambo tini ta thoi kaps ti kaps tini nga so musola tini ta navi dumur kanti yo chindi yen te nga so tini ta shig yo mareze.
When we're just going about our lives, traveling back and forth along the roads in the city, we see many people, but at this point we don't understand or have insight into the suffering that sick people undergo.
Te na nga so mangkhang na lan ro ni chita na ti kaps tini ta chi mo chama na pa yim ban rawo tini na wa yo ti kaps tini na chi dumur Zeatin dendizire do sambandawo teni sosola semganala sorwa teni tang zabu teni yongando wazi.
However, if we were to go to a hospital, we would we would gain the impression that everyone here is sick. They are all patients, and we would then be able to understand that their suffering is of this kind or is of this nature, and in this way we would gain a feeling of their suffering that is very deep.
Teni mangkang kanalan rowa lejang ta suso rang thola teni nat tindi yona ti telejang ta nat tindi yona dingmer chimborendu samba de hakoyong kores.
And when one becomes sick oneself, then one understands even more acutely what it's like to be sick and to undergo the suffering of illness.
Teni ti kaps teni soso rang teni dingmer yona teni ta ngarang rang la dingmer teni mena sambandao teni ta samlo teni yongores te masatang sena teni ngarang dingmer de mena sambi samlo yongores.
But at times like this, the wish that, I wish this suffering weren't happening, I wish I didn't have it, arises. It arises for everyone.
Teni nyamlin te zi shinking ka mosi yena, teni ti kaps korang ka samlo tangare, ta ngarang la 등물 닌디 용이 값서 나랑 등물 때 메나 삼니 딘디 삼근도 와지 딘디 인디 딘디 미 참마씩 바리지 미 참마가 딘디 삼거요래 무스던 세나 딘디 소소랑 거 돌아 등물 용이 값서 나랑 그 등물데 메나 딘디 삼근 마토 바치경요 말에 삼니 이 코로 딘디 삼로 땅거래지 냠니 용케이나.
But for a practitioner, when they begin to give rise to this thought of wishing that they weren't suffering, then they give it a little bit more thought and realize that everyone thinks in exactly the same way. Where everyone, when they are sick or suffering, wishes that they weren't suffering. There is no one who doesn't, and so they are able to think in this way.
Teni ngarang tini dungur yong kapse tini ta dungur te mena samni tini rewa jab te yihmun shi teni she pa tarta tini jamba so tini she o de ngaso sang man ramnim re chiba re tini chiba indi te mi chama yo tini dungur mena samni tini ta dungur te mena te samni tini ti kapse tini sorang ga ta sam gore ngarang chibo dungur mena samba mayimba o mo chama la ta dungur me sona samni tini sem gunala Tendi te rewa zenandra, teni molum zenandra, o teni ndopa zenandra, te yungure zi nyamlin tezi shinkanzi yena.
But for a person who has some experience of practice, when they experience suffering themselves, they realize that everyone who experiences suffering also hopes in a similar way. They also desire to be free from suffering. So in realizing that everyone really thinks in the same way about this, they are able to understand everyone, all beings, as equal. And so with this comes a prayer or a hope or a desire for everyone to be free from suffering, not just oneself, but everyone to be free from suffering.
Teni nga tsum sidang siya na teni pe na mochola nad naji yore nad nawi nirkab na teni dungur yore samba ten rawo zi mugong kenchik yang mare te tsama hako gore zi ten rawo jimtsin te mugong kenchik yang mare.
So regardless of who it is, when sickness takes place, it leads to suffering. And chizu teni di nit nibikapsa teni di donga yungare teni. Everybody understands that sickness causes suffering. This is something that there is no one who doesn't understand this.
Teni jini teni kakari nipa chimche pe teni to chapar chimbore.
However, the understanding of this is completely different when one has personal embodied experience of the suffering. This insight into the suffering is of a completely different nature than when we have had no experience of it or direct experience of it ourselves. The two insights or understandings are completely different.
Teni tendi indi teni dungur tezi yong jana pini ti dungur te la teni nga su semchin la teni nyangji yakbu teni yong tab gre.
So for this reason, when suffering does arise, we can use it to generate compassion for other beings.
O te indi teni nyangji teni di dungur ke teni nga su la nyangji ke la teni karma tongres.
So we can say then that suffering provides us encouragement, or it impels us to generate compassion.
Teni namgin inna teni semchin chama la teni nyarji ya bo she gore so ne ngarang cho lama nam gyang te nga cho la sung yores.
Usually, we talk about the need to be compassionate for all beings. Our lamas teach us this.
Teni pechan de so tana pechan de so thamba chimbo pechan de so na la teni shevja yore semchin chama la nyarji go sung yores.
And in Mahayana texts such as this, they teach us also that we should have compassion for all beings.
Teni lama dan chu pecha chipo matsa pape na ngaso boba dazina na teni ama cho na po chong chong la teni ta shirdang ko chimsang ka teni pume ama cho yang teni lab gare te sim po chong chong la sim chen sama la nya ji gore song ne teni namjin teni song gore.
And besides lamas and Mahayana texts in Tibet, ordinary mothers in ordinary families always tell their children that they should have compassion for all beings.
Teni rete yinna teni ta ngaso la teni shikin tibna shikin chishudi kane yong gore zena soso nyamnyung ko thone o dumar soso rang nyam se nyong jana tani ti thone yong gore.
Even though all of these are the case, that which has the greatest impact or influence on us is when we have direct lived experience of suffering ourselves.
Teni suso teni dumur teni nyamse nyong jakba tela teni ngaso di thola samlo yakbo tang shisona teni meseg nala teni ngerwa chimbo yong gore.
It's through direct lived experience of suffering like this, if we know how to think about it or approach it, that our lives can give rise to immense transformation.
Teni nyamlin shinken chikda nyamlin ma shinken chik mo nipo te teni to ndrapo shini nika te teni zongkang ka nangla teni ndagnas.
If a practitioner and a non-practitioner, say, were to both be in jail,
teni ti kapsa teni ta zongkang ka nangla teni ta dumur teni ta chowa ka thola yena teni rangwa mepa ka thone yena te yopate khorang nika ndrapo res.
And both, let's say, both practitioners were equal in terms of their suffering, whether it be suffering from life in prison or the suffering attendant with the lack of freedom.
Teni rite yena nyamlin menken gamati teni to mambo la teni khungro teni langne teni ta khorang la jamba ga teni nduma song jikshi ja mukshi ja zene teni khungro ta ta kana la tabaran ding yores.
Even though their conditions of suffering are equal, though, the non-practitioner gives rise to a lot of anger, thinking, oh, this person is doing this and doing that and doing this to me, and they live in a state of anger.
Tani jamba chogu teni ta nyamli yongkhanti teni chumkang ka nalan dingna teni khorang ka jala nyangji cheni teni ding yores.
However, the other person, the practitioner, is able to live in prison, generating compassion for others. And this experience is one that many Tibetan lamas have had and practiced through. For example, Gachin Rinpoche, the Lama of your center, I really like him very much.
And
the reason that I like or admire him is not connected with other qualities that I don't know about. In general, there are a lot of great high lamas in Tibet. What moves me most about Gachin Rinpoche is his experience of practicing in prison. In the past, I had heard about Gachin Rinpoche's experience in prison and how he had practiced in this context.
And
then a few years ago, Gachin Rinpoche was in Taiwan. And I had a friend in Taiwan.
Teni te yigi thola teni phab jok jeni te tindi me te ngarang chon che chok re teni Taiwan la yore kozo la tindi la ba yin ze.
And what I said to these friends in Taiwan is that I ask them to go before Gachin Rinpoche and to record, to put down all of his personal history in this regard.
Te jimsen kare re zena ten Gachin Rinpoche ngarang ka lama na mare ze.
But why did I do this? Why did I ask them to do this? Gachin Rinpoche isn't my personal Lama.
And
we are not the students, say, of the same Lama. The reason was that this compassion meditation that we are looking at in this text, this method for using suffering to generate compassion, this is something that is often talked about, it's often taught, but Gachin Rinpoche actually put this into practice. And because in writing down Gachin Rinpoche's experience, others would be able to read it, and in reading it, understand that this is how we should go about practicing, this was the reason that I asked my friends to go to Gachin Rinpoche and record his history. There are a lot of Tibetan lamas. However, in terms of those who are still alive, lamas like Gachin Rinpoche are only very few in number. So when one experiences suffering oneself or hardship, then we are able to generate a special kind of compassion. So between yesterday and today, we've repeated many times that suffering is good and that we should accept it. But this is not to say that suffering is good for everyone. For a person who is not a practitioner, then suffering has no benefit whatsoever. It's better for them not to have any suffering at all. However, even though it is preferable not to have suffering, it still will happen. And once it has occurred, then regardless of whether one is a practitioner or not, without preparation, then we've got no way of dealing with it. So it's in terms of actual practitioners that we talk about suffering, bringing benefit and having positive aspects. It's certainly not in respect of everyone. Even though suffering isn't good for everyone, everyone has to experience suffering. Suffering is part of our lives. It's a part or one element of our human lives.
때 탑시요 말이지. 때 누구 말인?
It's just not possible to say that you don't want an element that is an inevitable part of human life.
든지 인디 강터 가서 되니 다 데라 당린 마치나 탑이요 말이지.
However, if we don't accept it, then we haven't got any other way of dealing with it.
당린 마치나 갈때 탑시지요 나다 가서 되니 다 당보니 당린 마치나 그래서.
If there were another method besides accepting suffering, then we could be justified in not accepting suffering and doing something else.
이나 당린 등을 맨큰 그 무슨도 가서 뭐 동시에 던시 담바요리 디나랑 가서 왕샤쟁 그뭐 망본도 야급 그 전전라 모티니 뭐 망본도 되니 잠볼랑 그때니 식보 안 당오 그때니 뭐 던진도 되니 잠볼랑 그뭐 참마 공경 그때니 까적자 망본도 이나 코솔라 등을 언덕 상로 땅다 등을 나만나서 코솔라 요레스.
There is no single person who does not have suffering. Among the 7 billion people on the planet, there are many people who are powerful. There are presidents of nations. There are absolutely the most wealthy people, people of great fame. But do these people experience suffering? Yes, they do. They experience all different forms and kinds of suffering.
다든지 인디들이 등을 강타랑아서 되니다 네 냠스뇽고 그래. 다 냠스뇽고 차르디 되니 다 등을 때 야보 되니 때 게와다 장속다 된디슬란 로트블라 되니 삼로 타나 되니 때 야보레지. 다 냠스뇽고 차르디.
However, everyone does or necessarily experiences suffering. So once suffering has arisen, then if we can look upon it as good, as beneficial, as positive, then this is good.
되니 가서 응우보 찍라. 되니 응우보 찍라. 되니 따스르 망보요. 그래서 배나 가는 거 가서 되니 세컨드 가는 건디 잠니 파르타와다 교소 흥원네서 따와니 카카레스. 통야된 자가 뭐든 묶어나람 통화돼 자가 뭐도 와제.
In relation to any object, there are a variety of different perspectives. If we take this gold statue, for example, the way I look at it from behind, or the way I see it from behind, and the way you see it with your eyes looking from in front of the statue is completely different.
And
the perspective from looking at it from above and looking at it from below is different too.
And it's
the same in relation to any particular action. There will be many different ways of thinking about it.
삼로 땅서 찍으나라 바로 참만 줘요. 그래서 삼로 땅서 찍으나라. 자오 찍 마토 삼로 만보 땅 탑고요 말해서.
However, without cultivating practice, then everyone in the world is converging on one way of thinking. And this one way of thinking is that of not wanting suffering.
갈때 등으로 송나 나랑 그 등으로 잔지 그가라 시송진이 컨트롤하야 데레스
이 연저송로난 칸볼라
갈때 되니 등으로 되니 네 용송나 디캅스 되니 나랑 그 등으로 뭐 잠바즈 그 나랑라 시송진이 데 컨트롤하야 데레스
if suffering does take place, then the way everyone responds is to say that this was done to me by someone else, and they get angry.
Besides
from this way of thinking, for the absolute vast majority of people, there is no alternative way of approaching the situation. And in continuing along this line of thinking, suffering only becomes greater and greater. And suffering, when it takes place in society, causes a great deal of trouble.
다 초소 삼로 땅스러 잠바스 제고 더 손에 대송 거래스.
But it's at times like this that the Buddha advised that we need a different way of thinking.
Carternd korang kostigres, serkostigres, rete ngatsotini ni ogni yara ta yobanda oreze, ta sangji sona, ta chusun dini ogni yara ta kitsupu mashi, tangni ta, dini dunni ta, jamni ta na, te jamba yore, te tatsur jamba yore, dini yara ta na, ta ngatsun dini kum dini zama tong mare, kyorang shok jamba ni te ta gore soni, ngatsu sangji ngatsu dini sungo yore, tabachimbo.
And what the Buddha taught us, and especially in the Mahayana teachings, is that in relation to this statue, there are many different perspectives. And rather than always looking at it from below and only seeing the base of the statue, we should also look at it from above, from in front, from behind, from different perspectives.
Teni samlo tansar jamba teni che jana, teni dumurti, teni soso rangla te pangayore.
And by adopting a different way of thinking, then the suffering is able to become of benefit to oneself. The suffering can be transformed into a source of benefit for us. And not just benefit to oneself, but through generating compassion brings benefit to others as well. So it is possible that through suffering, society could be made completely free of trouble and full of compassion. As to whether suffering takes us in a positive or a negative direction, however, it depends on our view of suffering or the way we think about it.
Teni samlo tansarti teni tindi chapri yobi jimsen te karesena tenga so nyamling yo mela te kares.
And the difference in the views there are on suffering hinge on the presence or lack of practice.
O tindi yendi teni nga so te nyamling te yo na teni nga so te dumur te yagbore teni dumur la teni nga so la So it's said then that through practice, suffering is able to bring us much that is beneficial and good, bring much benefit to our minds. Ni simchen sama latini dumur mesona samni korang sim latini ga rewa ta sim latini momba o ndopa tindi tela zegres simchen tamchu dumur mesona samni to sim ga latini ga rewa tela tini nyarji zegores.
In Buddhism, compassion is understood as the aspiration or the desire or the hope that all beings be free from suffering.
Tindi indi ngacho namjin te dumur te teni ta de par tindi ngacho latini pamba yongken yana soso urjel latini nyarji tindi ke thumken tindi re gona teni namjin ngacho nyamlin tezi yo gongdo.
In order, though, for suffering to be something that is able to benefit us or something that is able to help us generate compassion, it's necessary for us to have some foundation in practice.
Teni namgin ngasola nyamlin tez mena teni dumur te thola yong kapse teni lamsang teni samlo tang gona te samlo tang thap kamarez ngaso ngama ga samlo tang lik tar to shi yong gres.
However, without some foundation in practice, then when suffering does occur, all of a sudden we will, or on the spontaneous spur of the moment, we won't be able to approach it in these constructive ways. We will revert to our old way of thinking.
Teni ngaso teni to pena ngaso mi parwazi na teni jitin de la teni ngaso te ngun zinser ta te tasr ta halepa hlabuz teni shege yoreze te le lauz ko thoni samlo tanga yoreze.
For an ordinary person, their way of looking at the world or understanding the world is extremely simplistic.
Pevjana ngaso mukata na teni jitin de teni tan dindi rawo ngaso tata teni thong dewa ro dindi zure yeng yore mukati jin thong yore re te yena te ngaso teni jitin de dong thola teni zawani mareze.
For example, when we look with our two eyes at the world around us, it appears to be just the way it is. However, the true nature of the world, in fact, isn't just as it appears to our two eyes.
Then rapozu pe na ngaso dewa yena yakbo yen samne dewa ngarong la yona ga yakbo yen sam dumur yena dikpure ngarang mergo samne tendi sam ngaso ngunzen de tendi jeta yena teni dong thola tendi yimbingi pa yo manduzi.
So it is with happiness too. We think that happiness is good and I want it. Suffering is bad and I don't want it. However, in actual fact, it's not necessarily this way.
Teni nyarji zeyate ngaso musik de sem ga nala ta nam tong ramra mangbo yongore samlo ramra mangbo yongore di nangni ha lepati ni rentang yo sa de rez.
As for compassion, well, we as humans have many, many different thoughts of many different kinds. Compassion is the most valuable kind of thought among them all.
Teni me jalla teni nyarji yo chati me jalla phantok haleba chimbo yores.
And once one has compassion for others, then one one is able to benefit others.
Teni pe na ngaso bo gangjeng ga teni ta tamba la teni ha leba ga teni kwadren chimbo yenkhan ga teni yagar ga panjada george adasha zeashi yore ta checho chama ga teni ha ko yu jires.
In a very a teacher, a great teacher in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, who the teacher holds in a great debt of gratitude is Atisha. I'm sure that everyone has heard of him.
Teni korang la teni loma mambu yore tinani loma tsu te teni rum tomba zegres.
Atisha had many students. His main student, however, was Dromdumba.
Teni kapchigla teni George korang ga teni shak te myung gandus.
Chisi?
Lakpa nagandus.
Oh. One day, Atisha's hand hurt a little bit.
Teni shak nyoi kapse teni George ga teni drum tomba la ta korang ga shak te myung gandu nagandu teni korang ga puz jabrok ji sone teni sondus.
And Atisha said to his student Dromdumba, "Oh, my hand is hurting. Can you blow on it a little?"
Teni Dromdumba te teni George korang ga teni lobmares.
But Dromdumba was the disciple of Atisha.
Teni tindri yindi teni Dromdumba ga zena te ngarang ga teni ke ga teni te shakla puz jamna te pantokchi yoki mare sone teni son yores.
And what Dromdumba said was, "Me blowing on your hand probably has no benefit whatsoever."
Teni George ga sone pantok leo teni kerang ga phujabda pantok yore pantok yopi gimsen karesena kerang samba zambo yore te ti pantok ore son yores.
And Atisha said to him, "Of course you blowing on my hand has benefit. The reason for this is that you are a person of altruistic mind, so you blowing on my hand will be of benefit."
Teni shirtang drum tomba ta shirtang teni pe haliba ga teni tokbam thombo teni reze.
Dromdumba was, in fact, a practitioner of high realization. In Tibet, we say that he was the emanation of Chenresig.
다 때마이나 가서 싫던 거 뭐지 나제 가서 미끼마 딘지지 나 코랑 그 길라티니 샴녀지 약보 용хэн 그 뭐이나 이 코랑 그미 멍볼라 판토거레.
But not just someone of his stature, any ordinary person, so long as they have given rise to compassion in their mind, is able to be of great benefit to others.
어디니 대단라보 어디니 샴녀지 때 소소 셈거나라 끼위 값스 때 소소 리당 셈니까 라더니 대화 어디니 대화당 깨봐 근데 자침보 용거레.
In this way, when one gives rise or arouses compassion in one's own mind, one's physical body and one's mind experience great happiness.
Tini tinji indi nga su shamnyang jezayate takpa chimbo nala tini ha lepa ga tini rentang zhar me panjawo tinji tsigre tolang tinji rezi.
So in the Tibetan tradition, loving kindness and compassion are regarded as extremely valuable, priceless even.
Tini ten jawi tini shamnyang nyar jete tini nyamlin te ziyong kan ziyena tini nga su susu tola dungmur yongwi kapsa ti dungmur te la teni tini yar ja chimbo yaran peren rogo rezi nyab shamnyang ji.
So for this kind of loving kindness and compassion, once we have some foundation in practice, then when suffering takes place, we are able to amplify this loving kindness and compassion greatly.
Teni pena nga su teni sturging ga teni jangka tsoma teni depsar ti wandu shina. Teni country rezena teni tsoma ga nangla nga su zaya ga teni tsoma ga nangla teni chapkhang ga nangla yopi lutte te lukuyores.
With the traditional way of planting vegetables or planting fields, human fertilizer would be taken from toilets and then scattered or spread on the fields.
Teni ti chapkhang ga nangla yopi lutte tarta nga su teni zengir ka teni lunjamata mambu zo yore ti tsamale khorang gagres.
This natural human fertilizer compared to the chemical kinds of fertilizers that we have these days is much better.
Teni chapkhang ga nangla yopi lutti teni nga su lotok yachimbo cheatang teni yangka ga sala teni nopa mepa teni zres.
The human fertilizer that comes from toilets has the capacity to make crops grow big and also not cause any harm to the earth.
Teni sanji chumdende ga teni takpa chimbo nangla teni songwarze nga su nyomong bate lut njapore so ni teni songwarze nyomong bate lut njapore so.
And the Buddha said in the Mahayana teachings that our afflictions are just like fertilizer.
Teni kandi nyomong bate lut njapo kandi rezena teni lut jangka nangla teni lugna teni lotok peyak po teni kegreze karti lut mena matsu saga nangla teni lotok tabna lotok ti yakpo teni kethap kamareze.
And the reason that he said this was that fertilizer has the ability to make our crops grow abundantly. Without fertilizer, then even if we planted the crops, they wouldn't come to anything.
Teni tenri yendi teni ngaso teni dumur yenna perna teni dumur yenna teni nyomong baga teni shokchigre ta li sem ko nyomong ba de mare ta yenna sem ko nyomong ba tena yore ta teni nyokta ze gogmund dumur yenna teni ta ngaso teni nyomong ba re ti yendi teni ti la teni ta ngaso teni de gewa ot so tamje po lotok lalla teni lotok kiwa ndawo shini teni dumur la teni ngaso nyamlin andi shamdang nyarji toso yar perium greze.
So suffering itself is a form of affliction, but through suffering we are able to gain much that is positive, like great crops. Through suffering we are able to generate loving kindness and compassion.
Teni chapkhang nang lat partana tini tsokba tini yoreta yena lotok kina ta lotok ki guna tini korang met morongwa tini jes.
So even though human fertilizer from the bathroom is rather dirty in terms of making crops grow well, it is something that is indispensable.
Then rawo tini dumur yenna tini dumur korang shilogni partana tini ngaso samaga tini mundopa tangdelen mundopa o tindi jesi yenna tini dumur la tini shamdang nya jeta gewa mambo ya compare rore.
And it's the same with suffering too. Even though looking at it superficially, suffering is something that no one willingly wants to take on. Through suffering, it is possible for us to generate much that is positive, including compassion and so forth. However, within all this is a fundamental point.
And
this is that in ordinary circumstances, we need to understand the proper way of thinking about it. And need some amount of actual practice, experience in relation to suffering. If we have both of these things, then when suffering arises, immediately we will be able to advance our loving kindness and compassion.
Ta yinayang te gandala tini oda ngarang la nyangtok ya ji yong kare kyong kumare samni tindi itangdalen go ndozi.
So in thinking about this way, if when suffering does take place, we don't regard it as bad. Even though the feeling may be unpleasant, we appreciate that through this suffering, we are able to improve ourselves and progress in our practice, and on this basis, accept the suffering.
Tini susu tola dumur tini musi yungna. Tini yarji ndrowa tini shabmarguare te mayin nayang ngaso pena tini mi jang ngatola dumur yongya te pena mukam thongwa dawo longyin yinare lorji yinna te su mukam thongwa ta yana tini nawa gowa tindi yongna teso ya ngaso shabnyarji yarji wala pantho yore.
So it's not just when suffering actually takes place on our person that we are able to advance our compassion, but also when we observe suffering in other people, when we see suffering with our own eyes, even if we see suffering in movies, etc. Also when we hear with our ears others suffering, these are also ways or opportunities to advance our compassion.
주 배는 탑주 되니 망측 야즈나 쉐신 어떤지 그 착망보 제로 산다고 쉐신이나 거가 쉐신 되니 착 못삿 착자르 지르게 어떤지 그 되니 저 롱인이 나래 뜻소 거라테 맞춤 통이 값이 하나 심진 쪽착 던조 되니 소진다고 되니 뜻소라 When we watch films that are extremely bloody and murderous, violent, or perhaps see animals behaving violently, many of us don't dare to look at the images on the screen. Even though we may fear the images, as practitioners, we need to look at these images. Covering our eyes so as not to see what is taking place has no benefit at all. These things are in reality taking place, and not looking at them is of no benefit. But in looking with our eyes, we need to think in a particular way.
the way that we need to think is in accordance with the ways of practice in the Mahayana tradition.
어디 상로티 타나 테니 가츠질라 샴다 냐르제타 참마 림베 용거레스.
And if we're able to think in this way, then gradually, step by step, our loving kindness and our compassion will increase.
어디니 티 당아 저것도 등을 라테니 다 따서 득바티레스.
So what we've just covered now is point 6 in terms of how to look upon suffering. So we've now reached point number 7, the last one, that is the letter G on page 11.
Teni mi mambo mi jan sola teni dungur mena sam ta ngarang la yona teni te kyomdu ta ngarang la yona chakandu mi jan la dungur mena sam do teni do tela dawe jan chi je gare teni te dungur la teni te gom gare.
So this last point is using suffering to cherish others more than oneself. And here we think when suffering takes place, we think, well, I can accept this suffering, I'm able to deal with it, but many people are not able to. And so we give rise to the wish that they not have to undergo this suffering. Even though we ourselves may be okay, we may be able to deal with it, it's not necessarily that way for others. And so this wish then is what we, or perspective is what we refer to as cherishing others more than ourselves.
Teni samlo tongser jamba chide kangre zena teni perna tari ngarang teni ta nat yenanda dungur kangona ngarang dendi dungur mambo yongo yimseng kangre zena ngarang rang teni rang chipr zong semchin jan teni chipr ma zong o ngarang de karchimbo yamba zong ti mo jamba cho karchongshong yamba zong ne dendi ga tawa shinsho lo patela teni mergewa mambo sak tela teni da ngarang tari teni dungur yonga jimsen te tere samgo rez.
Or an alternative way of thinking here would be when sickness or other kinds of suffering befall oneself, to think that the reason this is taking place is because of our habit of self-cherishing, of regarding oneself as important and not cherishing others, not regarding them as important. And because of this incorrect view, we have in the past accumulated a lot of, or committed a great deal of unvirtuous actions, and this has led to our suffering. So this is an alternative way of thinking.
Teni ta panchuni ngarang rang teni ta dendi taro mentni teni ngarang rang de karchimbo yen teni samna ngarang dungur mentni yongore dendi yendi ta panchuni teni ngarang simchin jan namla teni karchinda jan nam teni chigo und jan namla gargo und ngarang rang teni ta tindi ga karchin teni znyang ga mandu ngarang rang karchin zona teni dungur samatele yongore karti ngarang rang kar chongchong rawo shi mo jamba cho karchimbo shi na tela teni dewa yongore tendi yendi te ta panchuni ngarang ga teni ta dawe janchi gomgo und sambi teni te samlo te tan shina te soso dungur thola yong kapse tendi samlo tan thub gare.
So we need to resolve that from here on in. If we continue to cherish oneself as we have done in the past, then our suffering will only continue. So because of this, from now onwards, we will no longer regard ourselves as so important and cherish ourselves. We will begin from this point onwards to cherish others and regard them as important. Failing to do this will only lead to more suffering, whereas cherishing others and regarding them as important will lead to happiness. So we need to meditate on this way of thinking, and if we are able to familiarize ourselves with it somewhat, then when we encounter encounter suffering, we will be able to think in this way of cherishing others more than ourselves.
Then ngacho tini samlo tansar te kandi rezena ngacho mi chama samlo tansar te kandi rezena tini yakpo tang demo tang deskit taso chama gang yona yakpo chama ngarang rang go samne te sam go yores.
The way that everyone thinks is that all that is good, happy, pleasant, I need to have, I want to have. This is how everyone thinks.
Tape jana ngacho tini te khambashik nangla tini mo chitam bandawo tini yona tini ti nani ta mo chi tini ta yana sem go tola dungur yana libo go tola dungur tini yong go ndu o ti yong go ndu ta choso mo chi nani sila tini yong re sila yong ji yen tini zena tini mo chama ga zena ngarang la tini dungur mo go ngarang la yong ji men ngarang yona mendo tini zegre.
Let's just say that in one house there were 10 people, and of these 10 people, one person had to undergo suffering, whether of a physical or a psychological kind. Well, if the 10 people were asked, who of you is going to step up to this, everyone would say, not me, I don't want that suffering.
Tindi indi tini to ta ngaso samno to tindi reze namgin tini ta moschila tini dungmur yong ko na mo chibo di sama nga dungmur te yong go me ngarang dungmur mendo jini tindi zenken zama to nga dungmur te yong na ga ndu ta mo jamba gbo de la dungmur me na ta ngarang chibo dungmur yong na te kyo mendo tindi samno yo mare.
So this is the way that everyone habitually thinks. If there is one person who has to take the suffering, then everybody wishes that it not be themselves. There is no one who says, well, yes, okay, I'll take it, it's fine, I don't mind if the others don't have it, I'll take it on. This way of thinking doesn't happen. There's a story from Tibet. This story is related to history of the past. In Tibet, there were boats fashioned from yak skin that were used to cross big rivers. And in Tibetan areas, in Tibet, there are many great rivers such as the Yangtze and other big rivers. Everyone knows about this. Tini zhito su tamchi po tam shirtanga nga su mangchuk ko tini pesho tanga zhito su sama tini tabdi po tini ayak ko aga zo tini tabdi po indi tini te denjak halipa yo maris. Because these boats that ordinary people used to cross the river were just very crudely constructed, they weren't very safe. Tini kapchik tini makashi tini zhigo nangla tini ndugni ayak ko aga zhigo nangla tini ndugni rodi tini chig tini chichembu tini kila tini thong kapsu tini zhigo kalwa zini ta nga so zhigo nangla mo mang chendu. One day when everyone was sitting inside such a boat, they got to the middle of the river, and the person who was steering the boat, the oarsman, said to everyone, "We have too many people in the boat." And he said to them, "Look, the boat's too heavy, it's going to sink. If there's anyone among you who knows how to swim, then please jump out and swim." But there wasn't anyone among the passengers who knew how to swim. Yana kyocho nangla te kajik mosjik tini chanangla chip ta checher mashida shenro ore ta shina tabshi yo mare tanduk zendu. The oarsman said to them, well, either I jump out of the boat and swim, I know how to swim, so I wouldn't die, or either one of you jumps into the water and swims. Of course, if you don't know how to swim, then you'll die, but we can't do anything about it.
Teni ta moschi ka zeni teni o ta mo jamba so chama teni par chog parola teni tar sona ta de yakbon de teni ngarang cheche shigme ta yina teni ta shina teni tapshi menduk zeni de korang chena la teni chebarez.
Anyway, one of the passengers stood up and said, if everyone else reaches safely the other shore, then that's enough. I'll jump out of the boat, even though I don't know how to swim. I'll die. Never mind, I'll do it.
어떠니 뭐 잠바 상마 치파로라티 탈송데 뭐데 시송어레스.
And the other passengers all reached the other shore, but the person who jumped out died.
드니 나초 남긴 소소랑거랑라티 지와데 고고레스 다 나랑 딘디다오즈라 특소나 드니 나랑 치나라 칩사레다 컨디시사레 삼니 소소랑라 지와데 고고요레스.
We need to often put this kind of question to ourselves. What would we do in such a circumstance? What would we do if there was such a situation where someone had to jump out of the boat? What would you do?
나서 상마가지나 나 다른 저거면 나 다른 팀랑라 레카 mambol지요 나도 집지요 말이 되지 그랬어.
치즈 그저 김나는 레카맘보.
레카맘보 하요 한도事情做.
네?
나치랑라 집 그러면 나랑
Oh, yeah. Okay. What everyone would say is, well, I wouldn't jump out of the boat because I've got so much to do. There's still so much of my home I've got to do, so much work.
야, 다 딘디나 나초 딘디 랄린라 딘디 탑고 말이다. 옛날 샘거 돌아갈래 갈래 종들지 탑다고 그래서.
So even though we might not be able to put it into or practice, it's important for us to slowly train at the level of our minds. Our lack of willingness in this situation is due to a lack of compassion.
Tene ngacho namjin tene ta ngarang la nyarji yo ndawo tindi samgyo re ta yena tindi nang ngune tani thuyona tidi ngune nyarji yo ta me tene ha ko yong kres.
Even though we might ordinarily think that we are persons with compassion, when a situation like this really arises, then we truly understand whether we have compassion or not.
Tene te semgo tola te jongder shi ne te nyamnim shi tamna Kali musina tindi nyarji ya pochi tabgori dawe janchi zeyate o ta mo jamba cho thar sona te gang de da ngarang shi sona te kyome sambanrawo tindi go samlo ki tabgori zi jongdor ya pochi tamna.
However, through practicing well and training properly, it's possible for anyone to give rise or to cultivate compassion, to strongly cultivate a cherishing of others more than themselves, a willingness to see others saved, and allow oneself to die. This is something that everyone can achieve through training in compassion.
Teni dumur teso teni soso teni tola yongwi kapsa teni chorwa teni dumur ko chorwa chimbo teni yongwi kapsa teni tendi ko tola teni samlo teni tangna teni namjin le o teni halipa teni nipa chimbo yores.
So when suffering comes upon oneself, and particularly when there's a very strong feeling of suffering, then the capacity to generate this quality of thought or experience is more powerful than in ordinary circumstances.
Teni yending aso teni dagli janchi ba zewi teni samlo te nga chun ruwa mir ko teni samlo yongzu ko na ne teni chi ralap chi shu derez.
Among all of human thought and all ideas of humanity, that of cherishing others more than oneself is the most great and mighty.
Tendi yendi tendi samlo teni lap chimbo tini samlo rentang na damba teyang tini dumur la tini teni sosorang dumur la teni teni ke thamkareze ke gareze.
And this mighty thought, this valuable thought, is one that we are able to give rise to and cultivate through the experience of suffering.
Ta tendi ngi tini nga so samlo jibko tang di tini ta dungur te la yang ta sigda tendi dupu mundu te na ngarang rang nyamlin te chu shi ni tini samlo te chu tang shina dungur ndi te ngarang la tini ta phamba mambo tini te drupthap ko ndu samni te tendi samdi tini nga so dungur te la yinda manda nga dungur mo go dungur te dupore samba go samlo te tini mepa reyong gores.
So if we are able to think very carefully in this kind of way, then we will come around to appreciating that suffering is not completely bad. That if we are able to look upon it in a certain way and to practice with it, then suffering is capable of bringing us many, many benefits. And in recognizing this, then the notion or the idea that suffering is bad and we shouldn't have it can be destroyed.
Tati nga chu tari dumur la tini yondan tawazin dina la tini dun goni tini sha jamdu tini te mai na so sorang ndang jamna tini dumur te nga chu samlo yak potong shina dumur la tini nga chu landi dumbu ti machat par tarong dumur nga chu la yang phamba mangbu yang tini yungorez.
So we've just covered now 7 positive qualities associated with suffering. However, if you think about it yourselves, and please do think about it yourselves, you'll discover that the positive qualities of suffering are not confined to these 7 only. There are many, many positive qualities. So Kambo is now going to give a reading transmission. The transmission is for Kambo is going to continue reading the next verse. Suffering took us to covered what we had just learned, the 7 positive qualities of suffering, and finished at the bottom of the first paragraph on page 13. So among all of this is one thing that we need to most understand.
ta dumur te dumur shona yang tini dupu mare samni tini ta sambat tini ta jimsun to so jimsun dung go ne nga chuti sha char songze.
So of the content that we've just covered, the main content was 7 different reasons why we can regard suffering as not bad.
Tani tanga so shigupa garche chishu chiti kangrezina shetanga so tini dumurte ta yondan tendi yore samba chamzku ndruk yo mares.
But of most importance for us to grasp is that it's not sufficient just to know in theory that suffering has these various different positive qualities.
Ta kang go rezina penna nat nawanda sosola nat nawanda tindizalam sonna teni samlo tane ta nachi tini dumurte la tene teni ta ngarang tari tini gewa drup chokore nyarje gom chokore teni dagwe janchiri teso chama tini gibjur ta namjin tini ngarang ga tini drup mathapat teni ga tini gewa tini drup thap kore ta korko yagbo ta di shong song samni tini natela tini gawa yo go nduse gafsada yo go nduse.
What we do need to do is when we, say, experience the pain of sickness, recognize that through this suffering, it is possible for us to do positive action, generate compassion, cherish others more than ourselves. In sum, we need to recognize this suffering as an opportunity for spiritual practice, an opportunity for cultivating virtue, one that we don't have in ordinary circumstances, and on this basis develop an appreciation or a liking, a welcoming of suffering.
Teni 대당 라오시니 teni ta 등을 강당 강 소소라 용나 다 따리 약보 숑숑 teni 등을들라 teni 다 나랑가 teni 용들 약보 시 초건도 teni 인디 등을들라 teni 다 나랑 열지 teni 로레 나랑 열지 약보 용거레 삼네 teni 가르공도 셈라 가와요 공도제.
And in the same way, when any kind of suffering comes upon us, we should think, oh, good, through this suffering, I can train, I can practice, and in so doing, improve myself. And in thinking in this way, give rise to liking for suffering.
Tani nga tso tani mi tani te samlo zia te pe kemse te samlo tansar chong chong zi yabgir mabgir shina tani ti nga tso samlo kapshokla tani ngerwa chimbo tongganduze.
So it's very strange how even a small kind of thought or a small way of thinking is possible of changing our direction completely.
Perna namtrga tini shokpa ga thola tini namtrga tini shokpa la tini jablok la tini te tini yar chakcheta mar tini doya tini te zindwa tada yana namtrga jigma ga thola tini tini parkour circuit te shejindu te nila tini namtr yanro mandro ta pandro sdo khashok zo de ti chonjun jege yo rezi tsangma go gore.
It's just like airplane wings. If the tip of the wing is slightly pointing up or pointing down, or the tail of the airplane, depending on what direction it moves in, this completely controls how the airplane flies, whether it goes left or right or up or down. This is something that everyone knows about.
Pena nadrawo na kangin na dungri ona tambo sim kanala tini marke payoni tini yobi kaptela tini dindi go samlo tansar te girchu shi jana te lamsang tini sem kanala gawa yoni o ta kyong go mando samni tini lamsang gawa tini yon thap gareze.
And in the same way, when we say get sick and that feeling of unpleasantness or not liking the sickness starts to arise, if at this point we're just able to make a tiny little change in our way of thinking, then immediately we give rise to happiness. We feel it's okay, it's no problem, and a feeling of liking the sickness happens.
Teni tinjiga teni samlo tansara jamba te la nga so lojong che go reze nga so ta namgin mi chama go samlo tansar te nga so lojong che go mar chama teni sam go yore so ndi samlo tansara jamba z ko thola te zang jabni lojong che na teni ti samlo tansar ta te nga so te sem ga na la ngirwa chimbo tong tap gres.
So we really need to study these different or other alternative ways of thinking. We don't need to study the way of thinking that is how everyone else thinks, how everyone normally thinks. What we do need to turn our attention to is different ways of thinking. And it's through familiarizing ourselves with these or it's these ways of thinking that are able to exert significant change in our lives.
Teni semna la teni gawa te yung charti sem gana la teni gawa te yung charti teni ti gawa te la teni maso teni lipo go thola pe na nawan na lipo go thola yopi teni chorwa te yang timar non ro ndo timar ngu non ba da teni she krezi ti semna gawa ti lipo go thoko chorwa ti mar chechong lan ro re.
And once we give rise to a feeling of liking or happiness in our mind, then this feeling is able to affect our physical sensation of suffering and actually have the effect of suppressing or reducing the physical suffering.
teni perna lipo thola teni nat navi kapsa teni semnang la teni dengar sone ta ngaranga semda teni ngaranga nat teni dugpo samne tendi mambo samna teni lipo thoko nat je dig do yores.
If when we experience physical pain or suffering, our mind also thinks, oh, I'm suffering, oh, how bad, then our physical suffering only becomes greater.
Tendi ending aso te kapsa samlo te kayangbo rawo shi teni dungur teni tandala teni ngara yakpo yongore sambi gawa te yotsati titi semnang la yopi dungur ta te me lenro ta lipo dungur yang teni chechong rawore ta lipo dungur tsawane me rawore zena tsawane me thak marta yena mar chechong rawo yore.
If at this point we're able to think in a more open or open-minded way that this suffering is actually good for me and to like the suffering, then it is actually possible for us to make our mental suffering disappear. And the disappearance of our mental suffering has the effect of reducing our physical suffering, perhaps not making it disappear completely, but certainly diminishing it.
Tati indin di kapsa tini ngasola goyang ngomatak kang go yoresina tini dungor la gawi samba o tate go yores.
At times like this, what we need the most is a liking of suffering.
Tini dungor la gawi samba tak kandi goni yong go yoresina tari ngaso kong la tini dungor la yondan diri yorese tini shok dun go toni shasonga tetso la samlo tangona o ta yondan diri mambo yoti.
So where do we get this liking of suffering from? Well, as we covered already, we have the 7 positive qualities associated with suffering. And by thinking about these different positive qualities, we can appreciate that, well, if there are so many qualities associated with suffering, then it's no problem if suffering happens, and indeed one likes suffering, is able to like suffering, give rise to the thought of liking suffering.
Tendi endi teni tambo ngaso di gomne tendi di shego re teni thansam zena di tap namjin ngaso tin chwa na la teni komshok som la teni xorwan demni o ta ngarang la dungur kan yona ngarang dungur te so thamchu po par teni lamjing oro girzina ta dungur te so par teni ta Deva or Tendi Yamlin, Matsu Kongla shed the Yamlin the Yapo, the Teni sheet bar, the Nikom Shoksum Gushinji Lao, some Netigat in the Sondip, she go and do the Tambuk or La Capsa.
So we need to meditate in this way or on these thoughts, and in general make prayers to the 3 objects of refuge, that we may be able to transform our suffering into and make a prayer that we are able to transform our suffering effectively into our path of practice.
Tani nyamling ka thola tini nga so chu yarje te tsishon tsarwi jini tani sorwa depi kapsa yang sor dep kaka she go ndozi te kapsa tini ta kom shoksam la tani ta ngarang la tini dumur te tsa thong shokse tani ta ngarang la kom shoksam yin nanda tani soso chushkyong yin nanda teso korte la o ta ngarang la dumur te tsa thong shokse tani dumur te la tani yongdur shi tapkandak tani ngarang dumur te tsa yung go zini tani ga tani
And after we have achieved some progress or ability in relation to our practice, then we need to make a different kind of prayer. We need to pray to the 3 jewels or to our Dharma protector to please send us a bit of suffering. Please send me a bit of suffering. Through suffering, I can do training. And so at this point, once we have a little bit of progress in our practice, we make this different kind of prayer.
Tendi goni nyamlin she gore tendi gombi kapsi na teni tambo kapsa ta nga so teza tin samland kin rawo tendi she go ndak ta 참라니마 가시 딘딘도 콤나페 양보레 가르테 마콤나 가수 니마리라 드니 치초 찡라오 딘디즈 그나라 드니 마르 고마르 갸브니 드니 소소 치포 드그니 드니 ndso tonla samni semgnala yana yan jondrshi gore.
At the beginning of our practice, it is preferable to practice or to meditate in seclusion. A few days would be best, but if we're not able to do this, then setting aside an hour each day where we close the door and sit down by ourselves and contemplate in this way is very good.
Te nga so nyamlin kang ina te rezi tangbo nga so te nyamlin to shipi kapsa jongzu te ni motang par rewa mepapshi mamta ina nga so chisu kashi ga nang la te ni motang rewa mepapshi ne go jamni te ni gumni te rishi go re ma to pata tangbo ni te ni jongdar z mena nga so nyamlin ya po jilla chethap ko mandu.
It's actually the same in relation to any kind of practice. In the initial stages, we should try to separate ourselves from others, even if it's only for a few hours, to go into a space with a closed door and meditate by ourselves. If we don't practice in this way to begin with, then it isn't possible for us to train our minds or habituate our minds to these things.
Tani perna tani lister ba tani tani ta jarshi tola tani jon jamdr kana la jinkhen ka tani lister ba tani yena tambo korang ka tani ta yen rambo chila tani ta tani jondr tani mambo tani shegondo waze te tang rawore.
It's the same just with an athlete in the international arena. Such an athlete needs to train for a very long time.
Tani tambo jondar chini tani shitari jini tani tazo tani jamdar kana la jigna jondar yakpo shini jamdar kana la jigna tani korang ka ser ka takmalin tap ko yore.
It's only after training for a long period of time that the athlete actually enters into a competition, takes part in a competition, and is able to win a gold medal. However, if the athlete just takes part in a competition with no training whatsoever, then they won't obtain any result.
다 말은 참자보다 영나 딘디시니 고말 잠니 찍고 딘디 곰곰은 그런 소화가 나라더니 곰그 연전이 딘디 생각 만본득.
These days there are a lot of people who say or don't wish to practice in a retreat or secluded situation with a closed door. They say, I'm going to meditate in everyday life.
대 종들 마시나 담보닌 소화가 나라더니 딘디 그런 것들
However, without some kind of prior training, then it doesn't work to go straight into everyday life and to think one can practice. It's the same with writing letters or writing calligraphy. We have to practice first for a long time before we're able to write beautifully. If I say, well, I'm not going to practice at all, it's a waste of time, and just go and scribble out some letters, they won't be very nice. It's like this.
Teni tarong chik dogze te bena de ngaso ni mchik teni chakta zonken chik teni chakta z teni zon dogze chakta mxer chakta zon dogze teni chakta de kanze na da ngaso namjin ngaso chakta cherna teni ye shoglan ro gona dendi korgo dogze oya teni yon shoglan ro gona tan dendi korgo rewaze namjinina.
So there was a person who designed a special bike. It was different to ordinary bikes. Ordinary bikes, when we want to turn right, we turn the handlebar right. And when we want to turn left, we turn the handlebar left.
Teni koranga chakta gandi zunduzena teni ndshoglan rogona ndji kor gonken tin ndshoglan rogona ndshog tedi kor gonken tedi sakta zondig ze korang.
But the bike that he made was one where you had to turn in the opposite direction than the one you wanted to go. So if you wanted to turn left, you had to turn right and vice versa.
Te ripi zong ke tone le la bo nga so karma se kana la shin ro on ndshoglan ro ndji ndshoglan ro gon ndji ze ta lamsang ha ko gres.
Of course, in theory, this is completely easy to understand. Within 1 minute, we get that if you want to go left, you turn right, and so forth. However, no one has actual practice of this. And so, because no one had any practice, they would get on the bike and after a few meters would fall off. Has anyone seen a bike like this? If anyone has, please raise your hand. Have you ridden a bike like this before?
I have tried a semi-truck, 18-wheelers. And when you're backing up, not to stand to the opposite side, And the first time you try to drive an 18-wheeler, a semi, you make my mistake, you have to practice, take a school, then you learn how to back up wherever you want. So it's not a bike, but it's similar.
Teni ko the jakta tenra was teni shwe ma myong ine yong ko de long ko kya chebu jik teni dang yong teni tin rabu re teni pap teni shit teni pa teni khod good na teni yang teni da nyodu mambo teni go re rabu re se
oh ya tate teni tis jakta ti thoni teni nga so ha ko re teni dangbo khorang ge sim si sha na ti sigre se te mi si ji yo ma re oh ta te titola ti misia tindi ripin ti nyokta ji yo ma lamsang ha kon ro re ta ina khona ko kum tindi yo ma re te ma kum bi jimsin ji ti sakta de jon nin ro gonan ro thap kum de sakta yagbu jon shin ke chama long ro de.
So it's this way with this bike. Even though we understand fully in theory how it works, there's absolutely nothing that we don't understand about how it should be steered. Because no one has any familiarity with actually riding it in practice, then even good cyclists riding this kind of bicycle would fall off.
Tindi indi tini nga so yinda manda tambo gum go re yapon gum go re ma to gum ma gum na nga so
So that's why it's very important that in the beginning we meditate properly, we familiarize ourselves properly. It's only then that we're actually able to implement it in practice. There are many people who say that in practice, with their practice, they've not seen good results and so forth. And the reason for this is that they have not familiarized themselves properly. So if our situation or circumstances are good and we have lots of time, then it is certainly favorable to practice, to meditate for a long time. However, if we don't have these circumstances, then it's fine for us to set aside 1 hour a day or something like this to meditate.